Good day, students. This is for the attention of the Advanced Diploma Business Management. We are now in Learning Unit 7, where we look at product and services innovation. These are the objectives or the outcomes that you have to look at when you read this learning unit. Because of time, I won't go through the outcomes, but I will just explain some of the parts of these outcomes in the next slide. An organization's ability to compete and sustain performance requires continuous innovation. By innovation, we mean that you come up with better ways of doing things. So for your organization to be able to earn the competitive advantage, it needs to be innovative. It needs to be creative. It needs to come up with better ways of doing things. So you can reflect and describe a product or a brand which you believe are truly innovative. So I'm going to ask you this question when we are in our visual class, where now you think of the product which you think is innovative. You believe that this product is innovative. So in our visual class, make sure that you come up with 2 or 3 examples of such products. How can we define innovation? Developing a new brand, advanced solutions for sophisticated, well-off customer through exploitation of most recent advances in knowledge. So by innovation, you are coming up with better ways of doing things. You come up with new brands and advanced solutions for sophisticated, and you do that by exploiting the most recent advances in knowledge. It can be advances in knowledge or advances in technology. So as a business owner, you are expected to come up with better ways of doing things, because we are rapidly facing with changing environment. Changes in the economy, changing in technology, changing in politics, changing in legal and government regulations. So it's very important that to see to it that you become innovative in order to be able to come up with the solution of today. And the solutions of today are not sufficient, because tomorrow we are going to be faced with some changes. We've got different types of innovation. Incremental innovation and substantial innovation, and eventually the transformation innovation. So the incremental innovation has to do with small changes to existing products and services. If I can make an example, Coca-Cola have come up with a strategy in past 5 years where they put your name on the 2-liter bottle. So that is a small innovation that they've put in that bottle. So if the bottle of Coca-Cola has my name, Onika, so even if I don't drink it, but I'm going to admire my name, I'm going to buy it maybe and give it to someone who can drink it, but I've got that empty bottle that have my name on it. So that is a small change that they make in an existing product. So you don't come up with something new, but with the existing product, you put small change. It could be packaging, could be the name of the business, or you add just small change. So the substantial innovation significantly has a new product or service. It's where now you come up with a new product or you render a new service. Where in the transformational innovation is where you radically and are being driven by the advances in the technology. Yes, we've got this product, but how can you utilize technology to make this product to be innovative? So these are the 3 types that you need to look at when you are doing your business, so that how can I bring innovation to my business? If you don't afford the transformational innovation or the substantial innovation, you can do the incremental innovation, where you just do a slight different to your existing product until you've got finances to be able to follow other innovations. So the role of innovation impact to the economic growth. So if there's innovations, if there's new products, or if there's slight increase in the existing product, that increase the economic growth. Like the example that I've just said, Coca-Cola put your name on the package, on the bottle of Coke. So most of people, even if they were reluctant to buy Coca-Cola drinks or soft drinks, they tend to buy because they are buying their name now. They are not buying the real product, but their name on the bottle make them to buy. And the more they buy, is the more they increase the sales. and that can create jobs. How does it create jobs? It's because the more the organization have a lot of people who are buying, they need to stock more, so they will need laborers who are going to be able to handle stocks, or who are going to be able to handle cashiers. And again, economic growth results into competition, because other industries are going to observe what you have done to your product that attracts the customer's attention, and they will try to they will try to do new things. They will try to innovate their products as well, so that they are able to attract the customer's attention. So innovation could generally increase the quality and the variety of goods, and may open up new markets, leading to greater production and employment. So it's what the innovation definition tells us, that if there's innovation and people are attracted to new innovations, that can increase the economy of the country, which leads to competition, because other industries are going to innovate as well. And at the end of the day, that is going to impact positively to job creation. So this is a traditional way of developing an innovation process. So where you make, you generate your ideas, you screen your ideas, you test your ideas, you do a business analyst, then you do a product development, you test your marketing, then you start to commercialize. So traditionally, that's how people were able to start their business. As we have started in Learning Unit 1, where you look at people who are starting now to come up with an idea. So if that idea is acceptable or has been screened and it shows that it's feasible and marketable, then you turn it into business opportunity. Then there, after you have made several tests and business analysis and you have developed your product, then you start to commercialize. But the modern process is different. First of all, you need to get insight. After that, you create the idea, then you communicate. So this is explained here in details. Where initially you start to initiate the statement, then you split into the separation of the statements. When you come up with an idea, you look whether this idea is going to work, yes or no. If it's not going to work, then you start from the scratch. Then you start answering a question of yes, it's going to work. Then if it's going to work, does it address just one issue? Then yes or no. Then you emphasize the unmet needs and yourself, and so what? So you start to evaluate yourself. What are unsatisfied needs? If yes, there's unsatisfied needs, then you look, does it describe a situation that demands a solution? Yes, if it demands the solution, that's where now you are going to broaden your statement of facts, the reason why and the friction. Yes, these are unmet needs which they need a solution. But then what kind of solution do you have? Then from there, you are going to ask yourself a question. Does it sound true for the large or share of your target segments? If it's no, then you rephrase until it is a self-exploratory. But if it is yes, then you ask another question. Does everyone who listens to it understand it without further explanation? So you are busy with this insight assertion. If it does not, then you keep it simple and real. So in a nutshell, for this getting insight, that's where you ask yourself questions. Whether there is a problem, and if there is a problem, that means there are needs of people which are not met. If there are those needs, and then there's a solution, you ask yourself whether this solution is well explained. Do people understand it without you explaining it in details? So if they understand it, that's where maybe you think, I need to pursue this marketing, or I need not to pursue this marketing. So unlike before, where you just do your work on your own, you don't think of the customers, you don't think of the people who are going to be affected by your product or your services, the people who are going to benefit from your product or your services. You just think about yourself, whether it's going to work, and you start to commercialize. But these days, most of the marketers, they don't only look at what they want to do, but they go out there and do the customer surveys and study the consumer behavior for them to be able to answer these questions. So these can be the classification of the ideas, which you can have maybe more than one idea, and you need to analyze those ideas to see whether these analyses are feasible, viable, and marketable. So we have done this exercise. I won't repeat it. So in your own words, how would you describe the concept of creativity? Some people, they're saying students should be creative. But what is creativity? In a nutshell, creativity has to do with creating an environment where the climate is dynamic and energetic and inspiring. Give people the freedom to be creative. Assure participants that they can be open and frank. Create an atmosphere of fun and rumor and with the ideas that they can come up. So creativity is when you are able to bring hypotheses, solutions, guesses to problems. By being creative, you are not saying you've got a particular specific solutions, but you try a number of aspects. You try a number of ideas that are going to address the gap or are going to address the missing element. So by being creative, you are engaged in a process which is not ending. You can get a solution. Like I've said, because of rapidly changing environment, you find that that solution was only solving problems for 2 years. So you still need to engage in creativity process to come up with guesses and hypotheses to try to solve the problems. So these are the formula to formulate concepts. You should have a descriptive and evocative name when you want to be creative, a good match for your organization and a clear benefit. Use visual and create headlines, and you create the changes. So here is when you are trying to be creative within the marketing department, because this learning unit has to do with the marketers. So you need to be creative in such a way that when you come up with a name, you come up with a name that is going to attract people, and you clearly describe the objectives, and you use visuals that are going to attract your customers or attract the people who are going to purchase your product and your services. A brilliant idea badly communicated becomes a bad idea. So when you do your new way or your modern innovative, you need to be innovative in communicating as well. Because as a marketer, you need to communicate your product and your services. You need to make your product and your services known to your customers. And if you didn't communicate it well, that means your customers are not going to understand it, or they are going to ignore it. And when they ignore it, they ignore your product, and you are going to have problems. You are not going to be able to make sales as you anticipated. Then another thing that you have to look at is the organizational capability to innovate. So innovation is not only innovation for products, but again, you create a vision and a strategy for innovation. So you need to be able to create an innovative vision of your marketing strategy. Invite entrepreneurship and risk-taking. So when you try to innovate your vision, you need to involve entrepreneurship. You need to be creative and innovative, and you need to take risk. In entrepreneur discussion, we don't only talk about risk, we talk about calculated risk. You need to analyze the environment. You need to analyze the threats and the opportunities, the weakness and the strength from within an organization. Then you need to use that information to assess the success of your organization and allow divergent thinking. You don't have to use only 1%, but you need to sell your product, to sell your vision to your employees, so that they can be able to participate and help you to be innovative. And once you are innovative, you need to reward innovation. Sometimes innovation do not come from CEO or managers. Sometimes innovation comes from the employees. So you need to give employees intensive, reward them from those innovations. Failure not punished, but seen as a part of learning. Sometimes an employee can come up with an innovation, and only to find that innovation is not going to be successful. As we have rewarded the successful innovation, when it's failure, you need to look at what went wrong. What was the problem? You don't have to punish the failure, but you need to learn from it. Then this is an innovation management where they are using a business model. What are the inputs which are needed to be innovative? Some people, they want innovations, but you cannot just be innovative. There's a process of being innovative. You need to have inputs, you need to have the outputs, and lastly, you need to have the processes, and lastly, you need to have the outputs. So this process, it goes like input, process, and outputs. So there are things, there are ideas, like I've said, that you can get from your employees. Research that is conducted by your employees. The marketing research, you can use forecasting, you can use research corporations or external information sources as an input for innovation. Because when you try a new thing, you don't want to fail because there's money that you're going to use for innovation. So once you've gathered all the information, either from research and development or from your employees or from other external stakeholders who have provided you with the viable information, that's where now we are going to convert that information into the output. And when you convert, that's where you look at the innovative organizational structure. We spoke about the organizational structure, where we talk about the public relation officer, we talk about the marketing department, we talk about the financial department, the marketing department. It is very important to have an organizational structure that is well organized and it's well managed. And then from there, you need to change the culture of an organization. You cannot expect yourself to be innovative if the culture of organization is not changed. You need to communicate that culture, because some employees can be using an old culture. If now we are going to change, you need to communicate that changes. You need to look at an entire supply chain of your organization. You look at the processes of your organization. You look at the technologies that you are using and the managerial systems that you are using. So that is within the process. In the process, that's where now you change things for you to be able to get the desired output. So the desired output could be all the types of innovations that you have. The quantity of innovations, maybe you've got 4, you've got 5, the rates of innovations, the quality of innovations, consideration of the people consequences, and consideration of social consequences, and considering of the environment consequences. So in a nutshell, once you've got the input, you turn it you put it in a process where it's going to be converted in the output. So once you've got the output, that's where you decide. You've got everything that you have, the types of innovations, you've got the quantity and quality of innovations, you've got the rate of innovations. Then from there, that's where you can accept this new innovation or reject the new innovation. So how do you measure success? So you measure success by looking at the 3 new innovative models that we already explained. You look at getting insight, creating the idea, and lastly, communicating the idea that links into insight innovation. So you look at those 3 and you evaluate whether this innovation is going to be successful or not. So by product and service innovation, it means that there are a number of steps, there are a number of processes and procedures that you need to do before you can be able to implement innovation within your business. So here we've got another matrix for innovation. We spoke about the strategy of an organization. That's where you've got the mission, the vision, and the objectives of the organization. So you just make awareness of the innovations. Within the strategy, you look at the corporate strategy, you look at the operational strategy, and you look at the culture of an organization. Does it allow innovation or not? If it doesn't, then you need to communicate. You need to educate your employees and other stakeholders about this new thing that you're going to start. And lastly, you look at the outcomes of that innovation. Marketing perspective. One of the most important aspects of innovation process is to innovate according to the market needs. You don't innovate because your competitors are innovating. As I have said, you look at unmet, unsatisfied needs. This requires insight into not yet met needs, insight to the market trends, insight to the competitors' activities, and insight in the shifting external and environmental influences. So you could see that when you innovate, you look from within the business and outside the business. And outside the business, we've got the market, we've got our suppliers, and we've got the macro environment, where it can impact either positive or negative towards the innovation that we want to implement. So this is a class group work. You need to discuss how you think innovation could be made as part of the organizational culture. Because you find that organizations have purchases some products, some equipments, they've hired consultants to implement innovation. But how can that be made an organizational culture? Because an innovation should not be just a once-off activity in an organization, but it should be an organizational culture for them to be able to tap in products and services which are recent and to attract the customers and make sure that they do not react to the changes in an environment, but they proact. This is an end of our Learning Unit 7. We are going to continue with Learning Unit